Greetings to all global community. I thank you for joining us today, and I welcome you for the IEEE Virtual Talk Series 2020. And today we are fortunate enough to have with us Dr. G.R. Sinha. So before we start today's session, firstly, I would like to request our branch counselor, Dr. H.K. Sardana, to kindly formally welcome everyone. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's really a honor to welcome the speaker as well as the distinguished audience to such an interesting topic that is quite relevant for today's scenario in COVID-19, wherein human brain is struggling, and he has the sharing planned that he would share that cognitive science and brain computing, how a community from medical image processing could really gain for such inspiring lecture. I look forward to his expertise and welcome both speaker and the audience, IEEE students, faculty, and other members to look forward to such an interesting deliberation. Thank you and welcome all of you once again.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, so now I'm formally introducing our speaker to all our participants. So firstly, I request everyone to kindly mute. Yeah, the voice is getting over. So we have with us Dr. G.R. Sinha, who is the adjunct professor at International Institute of Information Technology, Bangalore, and is currently deputed as professor at Myanmar Institute of Information Technology, Myanmar. He obtained his bachelor's in electronics and engineering and MTech in computer science with gold medal from National Institute of Technology, Raipur, India. He received his PhD in electronics and telecommunication engineering from Chhattisgarh Swami Vivekanand Technical University, India. He is the visiting professor in Sri Lanka, Technological Campus Colombo from 1 year, that is 2019 to 2020. He has published more than 258 research papers, book chapters, and books at international level that includes Biometrics, published by Wiley, a subsidiary of John Wiley, Medical Image Processing, published in Hall of India, and 5 edited books on cognitive science, 2 volumes elsewhere, optimization theory, and biometrics. He is currently editing more than 6 books on biomedical signals, brain and behavior computing, modern sensors, and data duplication with Elsewhere, IOP, CRC Press. He is also the active reviewer and editorial member of more than 12 reputed international journals in his research areas such as IEEE transactions, Elsewhere, Springer journals, etc. He is also the recipient of many awards and recognitions like TCS Award 2014 for outstanding contributions in campus commune of TCS, and ISTE National Award 2013 for promising teacher in technical education by ISTE New Delhi, Emerging Chhattisgarh Award 2013, Engineer of the Award for the year 2011, Young Engineer Award 2008, Young Scientist Award 2005, IEI Expert Engineer Award 2007, ISCA Young Scientist Award 2006, and many more. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, for your talk. Sir, please unmute yourself. Sinha, sir, please. Yes, sir.
Oh. Is it unmuted?
Yes, sir. I'm able. Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your nice introduction, and it's pleasure connecting with all of you. Good evening, all of you, Professor Sardana, Anupama, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk on an important topic, especially during this tough time, very difficult time the entire world is undergoing, that is COVID-19. And I believe that this topic would give some insight or an idea that some research could be taken up where the issues and challenges related to or the consequences due to COVID-19 could be taken up, could be addressed. So that is the idea. So the topic is cognitive science and brain computing research. So let's Yeah, this will be the outline of my talk. I'll be highlighting on introduction and motivation of the topic, and then current research trends. What are current research trends? And I'll be trying to highlight some major contributions in this area, which are which are currently researched upon, and then we'll discuss about research approach. What is an overview of research approach in these areas? And then we'll conclude with some issues and challenges, because I believe that when we talk on such topic, we deliver some lecture on such topic, we must, ultimately find some major limitations and challenges that we can take up as our work, our task to, for further research work. So this is the outline of the talk. You can see one interesting picture in this slide. The picture says that the brain is connected with the computer. So it's an interface, brain-computer interface. And one can see that, you all can see that some signals are emitted from human brain, and those signals are received by the computer. And this exactly is the theme of the topic, that is cognitive science and brain-computer interface, or brain computing. So the brain capabilities, brain is engaged in number of activities, number of the functions, activities, and accordingly the brain signal or brain generates or emits electrical signals or electrical pulses. Those pulses are received or intercepted by the computer, and the entire area is brain computer interface, or we apply some signal processing computing task over the signals which we receive from brain, and that area becomes brain computing. As far as the cognitive science is concerned, it's related with cognition or human brain, where the different activities, abilities of human brain can be assessed, can be interpreted. This is what the topic all about. So let's move to the next slide. This slide is not for marketing, about my books, but these are the books which have been published recently. And I'm just trying to highlight these literature because these literature are relevant to the topic we have chosen today. If you see the first two books, Cognitive Informatics, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Last 3 to 4 months back, only these two volumes have been published with Elsevier. And then we'll be also talking about optimization methods. Biometric is always also involved in cognitive science and medical imaging applications. So this was published with Springer. Then there is a book, Medical Image Processing with Prentice Hall of India. So that's long back, published in 2013. We published that book as a textbook. And then last year, I did some edited books, some four to five books. These are the main books which are related to today's topic. So I just thought of sharing this. And then let's begin formally with the first part of the presentation, that is cognitive science and brain computing. So let's try to understand what is cognitive science and what is brain computing. So we can see the cognitive science is interdisciplinary. These days, we can't say cognitive science is only limited to computer science or IT or biomedical engineering. It is interdisciplinary scientific study. It is scientific systematic study of mind, rather brain, because mind and brain are slightly different. When brain engages in activities, and those activities, because of some activity, my mind can reach to Singapore or USA immediately. But human brain is a physical object, whereas mind is a mental, status or mental activity. So scientific study of mental activities and the processes for examining nature, the task, and the different functionalities of cognition abilities, that all are covered in one domain called as cognitive science. This studies intelligence and behavior with a focus on how nervous system represents. The entire nervous system is our entire human brain system. How does it process and how does it transform or interpret the different information which it receives through different sensory organs. Some mental faculties of the cognitive science are language, perception, memory, attention, reasoning, emotion, etc., etc. The cognitive science is, as I told you, interdisciplinary science or study of cognition. It's the study in human as well as animals as well as in machines. But our emphasis, today's focus will be on only human brain. We will not be highlighting or emphasizing on animals or machines. The main objective of cognitive science, using cognitive science, studying cognitive science, is to understand the main principles of intelligence, to better understand or comprehend the mind and its learning for developing intelligent devices. Because when we talk about cognitive ability, when we talk about brain computing interface, we actually want to exploit the intelligence of human brain. So the ultimate aim is to develop intelligent devices. The ultimate aim is to generate the commands from the brain, and those commands could be interpreted by the computer, and accordingly the intelligent or smart tasks and applications can be performed. So this is all about cognitive science. The cognitive science, as we have discussed in the previous slide, is the study of mind, the structure and different actions. This includes variety of research sciences. It includes a number of subdomains. Like if you go through the table of contents of the book which I was talking about, which was published 3 to 4 months back with Elsevier, you will find that all these domains were covered in different chapters in this book. So these are the different domains of cognitive science. Education, it deals with studying how people learn. That is how human being learns, how human being engages in learning activities, learning capabilities. Then philosophy, study of knowledge, reality, existence. AI, study of thinking machines, thinking like machines and systems. Psychology, study of behavior in the mind. That especially this psychology is very important, very pertinent during this difficult time. And I want to tell you that people have already started researching in this area, but post-COVID, there would be enormous amount of research in the psychology domain of cognitive science. Because, due to the COVID-19, a number of thousands, millions of people are undergoing with different status of their mind due to the fear of loss of job or loss of many other things. So this is the area which is going to attract thousands of researchers to carry out some research as a post-COVID research activity. Then neuroscience is study of nervous system, linguistics, study of language, anthropology, general study of human society and culture. Because human society, how we are supposed to behave in a society, how we are, we respect particular culture, but we respect other cultures as well. But all these, our human brain is so sensitive that we respect the culture, we respect the society, we respect the values, and accordingly we act and we behave in the society. So our behavior, our activity, all governed by these things, and therefore these are the important domains, other subject areas under a common platform, called as cognitive science. The next one is I want to introduce brain computing. Brain computing is actually brain-computer interface, because when we want to compute something of, the signal which is coming from brain, we have to interface with machine. We have to interface with the computer. So therefore, this is the area which is also called as brain-computer interface. This is also referred as neural control interface, mind-machine interface, direct neural interface, brain-machine interface, etc. It's a direct communication between an enhanced or wired brain and an external device. What do I want to mean? That is, what do I want to say by wired brain? Very simple. These days, the electrodes could be placed over the scalp and we can get the signal from the brain. We'll be talking about this thing in coming slides. So this is directed, the area of brain computing is directed. It aims at researching, mapping, assisting, augmenting. Professor Sardana was highlighting about augmenting the capability, augmenting or repairing human cognitive. And believe me, this type of research has already started. That is to augment, to repair human cognitive thing or cognitive activity, to repair human cognitive disorder. There has been attempt in different research activities. Or sensory motor functionalities. Motor functionalities means our brain signaling, brain functionality, and our sensory organ functionalities are also connected with the way we move our hand. The different gestures are also associated with the brain signal. So this is what is generally called as motory. Sometimes MI, that is motory. Motor is the important term where it includes the movement of different bodies. The brain is filled with neurons. As we know that brain is nothing but it combines millions, rather billions of neurons, and all those are connected one by another with the help of dendrites and axon. And how the brain signal generates a signal, how an electrical signal or electrical activity is generated from the brain. It's because of there are activities, there are excitements inside each neuron, and this particular thing, that how a signal is generated, how an electrical pattern is generated, will be covering in subsequent slides. The signals are generated by differences in electrical potential carried out by ions on membrane of each neuron. Each neuron will have certain excitation, and the difference between the two adjacent will be termed as potential difference or electrical potential difference. And then all those neurons, in a group constitute a resulting potential, which is recorded as an electrical signal. And that we assume that's the brain signal which is coming from brain, and we receive in computer, and we try to understand and interpret with the help of signal processing method and different soft computing tools. Then the biomedical devices are there. These days, biomedical devices are there to assist physicians and assist in diagnosis of various medical problems. Biomedical devices, biomedical equipments are there. These equipments help us to capture different modalities of brain signal. The different modalities are, the modalities may be EEG, that is electroencephalography, very popular, electrocardiography, ECG, then magnetoencephalography, MEG, then EMG, and there are many more. These are the modalities. fMRI is also functional magnetic resonance imaging. fMRI is also taken from brain signal. So there are different modalities of images or medical images which are used and which are captured with the help of some biomedical equipment or acquisition systems, and those modalities are used in the analysis and interpretation by the computer. So the modalities which are used in the disease and disorder detection in different healthcare system. EEG is very popular. It is used to find problems, and with the help of electrical activities, the brain undergoes, or brain is involved in a certain activity. It changes its mental state. The electrical activity or electrical pattern or electrical signal also has variation. It also changes, and those are recorded in the form of different types of signals, and the analysis is made on the basis of those signals. We'll be talking about these different types of signals. So the normal electrical activity in the brain, it always gives some specific pattern when there is a normal electrical activity, and whenever there is an abnormal activity, that will be reflected in the pattern. And through EEG, the physicians can analyze the abnormalities or disorders or any disease in the brain with the help of computer-aided diagnosis. When we talk about computer-aided diagnosis, it includes all dimensions: human being, art, science, engineering, everything, all are included in one dimension called as computer-aided diagnosis. It empowers the physicians with all computing capabilities and algorithms, machine learning tools, signal processing, circuits and tools. But what is important is the signals. The signals which will be acquired in this specific area are EEG and other similar signals. This slide is a is an important slide that gives us motivation why this area, why research is needed in this particular area, why it is important. When we discuss about any area of research, last year one of my scholar awarded got his PhD award in the area of early detection of breast cancer. So there also we carried number of surveys and studies, and we found that breast cancer is considered as third leading cause of death among women in the world. So similarly, when we are talking about this area, we need to have some motivation. Why this? Why should we do some research in this particular area? So a lot of information is there. I just want to give a summary of this slide. And just 3 to 4 days ago, I was watching one important discussion in BBC, and they were discussing on the mental disorders and other difficulties in the human being, especially in context with India. And there are many studies and surveys that reports that especially in South India, the number of persons who are suffering with mental disorders are the disorders and disease which are related with human brain is more. So you can see that some of the total years of life lost and years lived with disability doubled between 1990 to 2017. It has increased from 2.5% to 4.7%. Mental disorders are reported as the second leading cause of disease burdens in terms of years lived with disability. In total, 45.7 million people had depressive disorders, as 1 in 3 years lost due to a mental disorder was due to depression. And there is one more statement, a total of 44.9 million people suffered from it and accounted for the loss of 1 in 5 years. So there are, but I have given the reference also. One can go through these papers and can study. But what I want to make a point here is that the millions of people are there, millions of persons are there who are undergoing with severe psychological mental disorder and difficulties, and probably, we have limited number of healthcare professionals, limited number of mental health care professionals, mental health care institutes, and therefore probably this research would augment the abilities and activities of those mental health professionals and the diagnostic centers. So that's the idea. There is a latest finding today. When I was finalizing this topic, I read one research, and this is a latest research published in May 5 this year only, just last month only. When we fall asleep, our brains are not merely offline, they are busy organizing new memories, and now scientists have gotten a glimpse of the process. And therefore, today when I saw this particular, when I read about this research in Twitter, human brains replay working experiences during sleep. Then I went to the link, I visited the link, I studied the paper. It's a wonderful research, was published in Cell Reports. So these things, these research and motivation substantiate that yes, there is a possibility, there is immense possibility of doing potential research in this area to study something significantly in the area of cognitive ability of human brain and assessment of different activities and abilities of human brain. So that was the first part. I tried to introduce what cognitive science is, what is brain computing, and what does motivate us, what is the motivation behind these research areas. So that was the attempt. I hope everyone got some idea that what the area is, an overview. So the next part is I'll be talking about very quickly the current research trends. The current research trends in the area of BCI and cognitive science are based on different analyses or different diagnoses of disease predictions related to sleep disorder, epilepsy, tumor and Alzheimer's disease, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder. There are research, and believe me, I know one scientist who is based in San Francisco. They are doing very good research, and that too in the in collaboration with mental hospital. So I did that book, 2 books with that, professor of San Francisco only. So these are the areas like studying sleep disorder, studying subabnormality while sleeping, not getting proper sleep. These are all being researched upon, studied, and certain substantial and meaningful conclusions are being drawn. Emotion assessment and cognition assessment, entertainment and marketing industries. These days you can find the different toys and the movies where the our kids and other people, they can see the plays, games where a lot of emotions and sentiments are involved. So in these industries also, this BCI is playing significant role. Neuro rehabilitation, what while introducing each other, we were talking about rehabilitate. Can we use this research in some rehabilitation of those who are suffering with these difficulties? So yes, rehabilitation, neuro rehabilitation, and of course robotics, neuro robotics. Robotics, I think all of you must have heard about Vyomyan. Vyomyan is a brilliant example of computer vision. It has that all capabilities. So we have to accept that this cognitive science capability is also there in Vyomyan. Therefore, it would accept all the attributes when it will be projected into the space and will give the appropriate information back to us. So there are application areas where the research trends are there currently in the existing work. And mainly if we try to find what are the areas where the cognitive science research is carried out, we'll find brain-computer interface, mostly EEG and machine learning, cognition assessment with the help of EEG, and the optimization techniques. Because whenever we discuss about image processing, medical image processing, those who know about image processing, there is a very popular book. There are 2 books. One is authored by Professor Gonzalez, and second is A.K. Jain. In both the books, when you study, you will find that in image processing, there is no robust theory. So robustness is a big challenge. So whatever you do tomorrow, something new will happen. So therefore, the performance is continuously, getting improved and improved. And the existing methods get improved by using suitable optimization techniques. And those methods are also used in the cognitive science and the brain computing research. So I will not be giving much time in these tables. I have just included the recent, very, very recent, and that to quality publications. They are from IEEE transactions and other, reputed elsewhere transactions. I have taken this literature. And when you study this literature, when you see this literature on these different things like BCI, EEG, cognitive assessment, and optimization techniques, there has been research. For example, research on BCI, when you find that the people are researching on, recording and decoding of neural activity using BCI, combined sensing, cognition, learning, and control for developing neuro-robotic system. I have also included the future perspective and the major limitations. But my idea is not to give much time here. My idea is to give the research approach, what approach is being used in this area. But I wanted to include some prominent research articles or research activities which are happening in this area. The next one is signal processing techniques for motor imagery, that is MI, motor imagery BCI. The way we move our hand, the way we blink our eyes, the way we engage in different movements of our human bodies, which are controlled by our human brain, are all analyzed, studied, and researched. And then there are some more improved time frequency features and electrode placement for biometric person recognition. Time frequency features, I will be talking about what are these features in brain signal. Then fractal dimension method for determining optimum EEG electrode placement. That's the important research area, that placing the electrode on appropriate place over the scalp is itself a research area. Because those who are aware about signal processing and image processing, they do understand very well signal acquisition itself is a research problem. When you do not acquire the signal may be medical signal, signal may be any other signal, biomedical signal or whatever. When the acquirement is not proper, then it would not be appropriate signal which can be subjected for further and subsequent stages, and the entire analysis won't be appropriate. So there are research, brainwave understanding, fundamentals of EEG measurement, and these are very recent. Let me tell you, all these research contributions which I have included in these tables are mostly, last 3 to 4 years research only. Then there are research on automatic EEG artifact. Artifact is a major problem in EEG. Artifact is something which is unwanted. It is different from noise, but artifact is also some unwanted signal which is added. And in order to, because it's very important to remove that. The important thing is that brain signals which we receive as the electrical signal are very, very low frequency signal. And if the artifact is there, it would create great difficulty. So these are the research. I hope that the time is till IST 6:30. So I hope I can continue till 6:15, and then 15 minutes we can have question answer. But there are many more I want to cover. And there are some more research, linear and non-linear methods for BCI, motor imagery for BCI, random forest and linear discriminant analysis, removal of physiological artifact like some movement is there, eye blinking is there, then the disorder will be there. There are research on cognitive assessment like mental fatigue assessment. There is a research that mental fatigue assessment, when we are tired, how does, what is the change in brain signal, automatic stress detection in working environment, different working environment. I could read a literature where the people who are working in IT sector, the people who are working in education, the people who are working in manufacturing sector, they have different patterns which are generated by the brain. So there are research. I think all these research would greatly help us in modeling and analysis of some tools and solutions for addressing the problems and difficulties in the area of mental disorder and disabilities. And there are some more research contributions. Researchers are using nowadays deep learning, recurrent neural network and all that for emotion recognition. Then there are research on signal quality assessment model. As I told you, when the signal quality is not proper, poor signal quality is there. There are research which are going on. Research on machine learning and EEG. The thing is that there is no any particular method which can be used in a robust way in all different activities. So when we are interested to do some research, we have to extensively study that which machine learning would be appropriate based on these research major limitations findings, and we can suitably choose a machine learning method for our work. And then these are some more papers I included. And then there are contributions on different optimization methods. Which one is more suitable? Which one is not more suitable? Which are the recently used methods to improve the performance of cognitive science applications. So this slide gives an summary of that. I've already shared the PPT with Anupama, and later after the lecture, one can see the entire PDF and one can go through all these literature. I have included all these papers in the reference also, so that you can try to study. So let me sum up the entire this discussion on current research. So what are the major problems in the current research? Because when we do some literature survey or related research, the ultimate aim of related research is to highlight, is to bring out the major challenges which are there in existing literature. And when we find it, we'll see that brain signal is non-stationary, and the brain signal produces huge dimension, and therefore appropriate signal processing is needed to deal with this difficulty. Brain signals are affected, as I told you, with a different psychological, physiological, and technical artifacts. Psychology, physiology, when movements and other things are there, technical artifacts. If there is some problem in your sensor, if there is some problem in your cable or your signal acquisition system, that would introduce some artifact. That's the area of research. Cognition assessment is subjective area. I think let us not give much time in this. It's purely subjective. It's a very difficult thing. When it is subjective, it's difficult to find, it's difficult to validate your work with some existing work. To automate this, some efficient modeling is needed. Selecting a proper channel, because when we talk about EEG recording and all that, the number of channels, the number of electrodes are the important term. So which channel is more important, which is bringing more important signal, and other signals are not that much important. So which channel is more important among n number of channels which are connected with n number of electrodes is the research area. Optimal feature selection. Which set of features is more optimal that can give us better interpretation and analysis is the area of research. So that was the second part. Let us go to third part and then we'll conclude by the major issues and challenges. So the major issues and challenges, I'll be only giving 5 to 7 minutes, but this is the area where I want to give some time, that the research approach and overview. What is the research methodology? What is the research approach generally in the area of cognitive science and brain computing, that is brain-computer interface? So let's discuss this particular part of the lecture for some time. So this is about brain-computer interface. When you see an interesting diagram here, that EEG signal is coming from the brain. The subject is nothing but EEG signal. It is converted in terms of features. And I believe that everyone who is aware of signal processing or image processing knows very well that in any image processing, signal processing, the raw signal is always converted into suitable features or attributes or parameters. You put your thumb impression, your smartphone, next time when you again put your fingerprint, it authenticates you. So what does it keep inside is the attributes of your finger impression. It does not record your image. We talk about our multimodal biometric system, Aadhaar in India. There also attributes have been stored in the template database. So the features are extracted and those features are classified, and based on that, we are talking about BCI. Based on that, the appropriate commands are generated, and based on the commands, the activity or different devices can be controlled. So the brain is thinking something, brain wants to perform something, human being wants to perform something, to switch on, to switch off, to move something, to ask us to move left or right, something like that. Computer interprets it with the help of BCI and machine learning, and accordingly the command would be generated, and that command would enable or would make the device or the equipment or the system to move and to operate. So that's the area called as brain-computer interface. When we see the next diagram here at the bottom, we'll find that the signal which is coming as a trigger, as I told you, every neuron triggers something. So ultimate signal which we get as the EEG signal, the electrical patterns are subjected to pre-processing. Pre-processing is an important task because as I was telling you that raw data has always difficulty. It might have some artifact or noise might have been added in the original signal. So it has to be pre-processed using suitable filter or signal processing methods. Then it goes to feature extraction. The idea here, or we cannot talk more about feature extraction. When we talk about feature extraction itself is a big topic, is a big area. When we discuss about classification of the brain signals, it itself is an a broad area. It's a broad area. So I'm just trying to give an overview of the major stages in BCI. Then it goes to the features are subjected to classification, and the feedback can also be given to the computer, and the appropriate remedial measure or remedial action could be taken. A remedial correction could be taken. BCI acquires brain signals. Brain signals are analyzed, translated them into commands. I was telling you the same thing. The brain signals are translated into the commands, and that commands relay to the output devices to perform certain desired actions. The BCI may be invasive or semi-invasive or non-invasive based on how do you use your electrodes and all that. Maybe I'll be talking about this thing in next slide. The mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought experience and senses, the mental action and processes which are involved in BCI mainly include attention, formation of knowledge, memory, judgment and evaluation, reasoning and computation, problem solving, decision making, comprehension, production of knowledge, and so on. So let's move to this slide. This slide gives better idea in the pictorial form. The cognitive ability, the domains which are covered in brain-computer interface, which we are referring as mental actions and processes, are all covered in this cognitive ability domain that may be related with attention. How do we pay attention? Whether we are attentive, whether we are more attentive, whether we are less attentive. Planning, the capability to plan, ability to plan, retention capability, ability to recall, reasoning ability, problem solving ability. And I want to tell you, most important thing, when you see the brain structure, and this is absolutely true, there are research, there are, the scientists and doctors do agree also that there are areas like this is frontal lobe, you can find here, this area is connected with or associated with speech and motor cortex. So the movement, when I move my hand, when I blink my eyes, or when I'm speaking something, these all are associated with this part of brain. This area you can see parietal lobe, reading capability, speech, taste. When we come towards the downside, temporal lobe, smell, hearing, auditory association area. So what I want to make a point here is the entire brain structure is divided into different areas. The different areas have different responsibilities, different activities. And from those different areas, different signals are recorded through electrodes, and accordingly, these abilities, what is the ability of reading comprehension of this person? Is it different from one person to other person? Yes. The vision capability, the capability to speak, the capability to smell, the capability to hear, everything is all connected in the brain, and this can be extracted, this can be interpreted, intercepted with the help of brain signal. I think this is the further description of the previous slide. This part you can see here, frontal lobe, problem solving, creative thinking, personality, temporal lobe is related with memory, brainstem, basic life function, basic life activities. The cerebellum is balance, coordination, motor learning. This occipital lobe, this area, green color, is related with vision capability. This parietal lobe is associated with visual capability, reading, understanding, language, all these capabilities. You agree, you will all agree that a particular person has more ability to learn new language, right? But some person, they will always be struggling, even though the language would be easy, but there would be difficulty. But there are people who just, learn as a fun, and they have more that ability as far as understanding or comprehending of the language is concerned. So this is about the nervous system. I want to go to the EEG system. The nervous system, we sense the sensory organ, we sense something, it goes to the human brain, then it is connected with some motory command, and accordingly. So when we are walking, when we are hearing something, all are connected with brain signal. What is the point here out of this slide is the entire nervous system is integral and is the integration of every activity, sensory organs and the movement organs, the moving organs. There is a central nervous system, there is a peripheral nervous system. So peripheral nervous system is connected with central nervous system. So all these are mimicked in the computer, what we are calling as the brain computer interface. This is the neuron. I hope those who have some idea about human brain, they know that this is one structure of one neuron. And there are studies and the reports that we have more than 10 to the power 15 neurons in each human brain. So it's billions of neurons are there in each human brain, and every neuron has such a structure. You can find that these are the dendroids, these are axons where one is connected with other neuron, and these are synaptic junctions. Dendrites are there where there is a nucleus, and you can see here the structure. In this structure, you can find there are neurotransmitters in the synapse area, synaptic terminal, and inside the nucleus, you will find that neurotransmitter. So the neurotransmitter is the element where the signals will be transmitted. The neural signals will be transmitted. The neuron will transmit some signal, and the signal will be traveling from one neuron to other neuron to next, and finally our cortex, the outer surface, we will have some changes and stimuli, and those stimuli are recorded, sensed by the electrodes, which are actually sensors, and those electrical patterns are captured in the computer in the form of different signal. So when we say that it's an EEG, that is electroencephalograph or gram, it's nothing but an outcome of electrical patterns which we receive from brain signal. And when we are doing research on lung cancer and other areas in medical imaging, so it's the same area. How do we carry out research in lung cancer detection? Doing analysis with pancreas or heart or ECG, just getting the signal and applying signal processing and machine learning. So as the brain signal analysis, so as the brain computer interface, so as the cognitive science. So if we can carry out research in these areas, similarly brain could also be researched upon. So brain waves, I've already discussed about brain waves. Those patterns which we receive from the brain, which are emitted from the brain, are called as brain waves, and BCI actually provides interface between human brain and external device. So let us go to the brain waves. These are the brain waves. You can find the frequency is very less. Amplitude is also not too large. There are waves which are called as delta wave, theta wave, alpha, beta wave, gamma, and mu. These are the 6 important brain waves in the brain, which are called as brain waves. And these signals and waves are important signals for the analysis of different activities of human brain. Believe me, and the different type of brain wave is associated with different activity. How? Let us see this. For example, delta wave. The frequency range is from 0.5 to 4 hertz, very less. Highest amplitude and the lowest frequency. The delta wave has highest amplitude and lowest frequency. These occur frontally in adult, posteriorly in the children, and are primarily associated with a deep sleep. So when someone is in deep sleep, mostly the waves which are produced are the pattern which is known as delta wave. That pattern is generated while we are in the deep sleep. The theta waves in the range 4 to 8 are normally observed in young children. However, in older children and adults, these waves are observed in state of drowsiness or arousal, as well as in meditation. So when someone, the adult is meditating, or those who are very young children, they are in some activity, then this particular wave, theta wave, is recorded. And there are standard waves, and when there is a change in any of the standard wave during any activity, means some abnormality, something is wrong, and the variation is more, it means some disorder is there in the human brain. These waves may occur anywhere and not related to task at hand. An excess of theta waves may, you can see here, an excess of theta waves may represent abnormal activity. So more number of waves, enormous number of the theta waves is that indicate abnormal activity inside the brain. Alpha waves, another wave, alpha wave is in the range 8 to 13. We are going in the order of, towards higher and higher frequency. 8 to 13 associated with wakefulness, when we are awake, closing the eye, effortless alertness, creativity. So you can see here the alpha wave is very important wave in order to study, in order to interpret, in order to understand these activities and these mental actions. These waves normally appear in posterior half of the head and higher amplitude over the occipital. You have seen occipital is related with the vision. The beta waves lie in the frequency range 14 to 26, found only in normal adult. These waves are correlated with active attention, active thinking, solving critical problem, or focusing on outside world, and also known as sensory motor rhythm. That is, in order to control some operation or movement, these beta waves are associated. These waves are low in amplitude, or that is generally in the order of 30 microvolt or under So amplitudes are very less. You can imagine if high amplitude signals are there, electric signals are there, think about our brain, what will happen? It will just blast. So therefore, the signals have very less frequency and less amplitude as well. Gamma waves, the gamma waves in the range 30 hertz or maximum up to 100 hertz, which is rarely there, and help to determine binding of different populations of neuron together. How our neurons are intact. They occur only during cross-modal sensory processing. Cross-modal sensory processing means when we are thinking, when we are listening, when we are seeing something, and seeing and listening and understanding all combined together. During that type of activity, you know, sound, light, everything is involved. All these things are involved. Then gamma waves give us reflection. Mu wave 8 to 13 mixed with other waves and sometimes partly overlay with rhythms. It demonstrates the synchronous firing of motor neurons over the semi-motor cortex. So I believe that the next part is more technicality about how the potential is generated, how an electrical signal is generated. When we talk about electrical signal, we all do understand electrical signal is nothing but some potential, some voltage will be there, some current or voltage will be there. So how the potential is generated, this diagram is very interesting diagram. I believe we don't have much time, but you all understand polarization and non-polarization. We all understand ions. You all might have heard about that in his brain or in her brain, the amount of amount of potassium is imbalanced. Therefore, there is a memory loss. Therefore, he or she is not behaving properly. So you can see that all these ions are there. And we all do understand when ions are there, there will be ionization, there will be polarization, there will be depolarization. And when these activities are there, you can look at the first slide. These are the activities, action potential plus minus, right? And you can see the changes from one diagram to other diagram with different ions, Na and K, that is sodium and potassium. So the depolarization spreads the neighboring region of membranes, polarization and depolarization, and that initiates, that is responsible for some generation of some potential. And it is associated with neuron. It is associated with a neuron, and neuron has those ions in the membranes. This further describes how firing takes place. You see here, the initially resting potential is very less. You can just, if you can find the cursor movement, there is one diagram, resting potential, then it reaches to threshold. And when some activity is there in the neuron, when some activity is there, the activity may cause some spike. You can see here acting potential. So whenever there is some spike which crosses certain value of threshold, that will be recorded as the potential. That electrical potential gives as a pattern called as electrical signal. This slide is important and about EEG recording. I think everyone will understand very easily. EEG recording is non-invasive as well as invasive. There are methods where some needle-like electrodes need to be inserted. That's the invasive method. But in non-invasive, nowadays there is a cap-like structure. You have to just wear a cap or hat, and in that hat or cap, a number of electrodes will be there, and those electrodes will cover the surface. And the non-invasive is therefore safe and painless. The human EEG can be measured using special electrodes with a typical diameter of 0.4 to 1 centimeter. The electrodes are placed on scalp with a paste. I think we all know that even we record ECG signal, we put some paste on the electrode and we record the signal. So this is the method. The electrodes are placed over the brain, the scalp, and the entire brain signals are recorded. And it's obvious. More is the number of electrode, more will be the amount of information which will be received. And the analysis will also vary. But if you remember, some time ago, we were talking about channel. All these electrodes are connected with different cables and channels. But some cable or channel will give you predominant information, but some channel will not give that. So which is the channel which is giving more meaningful information, and which are the channels which are not providing meaningful information? That's also important thing. The selection of channel. This is about brain and EEG signal. I think these two diagrams just highlight that these are the positions of electrodes. These are the positions of electrodes. There are different systems for EEG recording. International system 10 by 20, 21, like 10 by 20 system has 21 electrodes. There are systems which has 364 number of electrodes. So there are different biomedical systems and equipments and devices available, and those systems and devices are used to capture the signal. The EEG tracks and records brainwave patterns, small metal disc with thin wires. Small metal disc with thin wires, what we are calling as electrodes, are placed on the skull, and then these signals are sent to the computer. And finally, those EEG signal is stored inside the computer, and then the next task is signal processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, soft computing tool, whatever, are all applied over the signal which is received from the brain signal. So the next part, I will give around some 10 minutes, as I told you that I'll be completing by 6:15 IST. 15 minutes I'll give for some discussion and question answer. So when we talk about when we discuss about the cognitive science and the research approach, if we sum up, there is a brain. Brain has millions and billions of neurons. All those neurons always are engaged in some activities. And when we change our activities, our human brain changes the activities, the spikes or the signals which are produced by different neurons are group of neurons that change, and therefore electrical pattern, resulting electrical signal changes. From different parts, different types of waves are created. We have studied generated alpha, beta, theta, gamma, mu, and accordingly the study is made. So the next task is choosing appropriate computing method, soft computing method, so that the proper analysis could be made. So when we talk about computing, signal acquisition and processing techniques, machine learning techniques, and optimization techniques. Signal acquisition. We acquire the signal, but that signal has to be, we acquire the signal with the help of different systems. There are different signal acquisition systems which are used to acquire the signal. But what is next is, and what is important in signal acquisition, that sampling rate must be high. All those who are aware about electronic systems, in all electronic and digital systems, this is the simple requirement. Sampling rate must be very, very high. These days we are processing everything in digital. We are in the digital world. So best quality of signal means high sampling rate. If the sampling rate is not proper, so all these are taken care of by the manufacturer themselves. High signal to noise ratio for each channel. There are a number of channels. If one channel has poor SNR, other channel has more SNR. That is better SNR. So obviously the channel with better SNR will give you better quality of signal. Attenuated noise, movement artifact. When eye blinkings are there, when EEG is being recorded, we suddenly move our eyes, suddenly move our head, we suddenly move our hands and other parts of the body. It will affect because we know that every movement which we make is controlled by human brain. Because when I'm a strong ardent follower of Swami Vivekananda, he says that through meditation, one can control whatever we want to do, whatever we want to achieve, we can do it just by controlling our brain. And the brain can be controlled by the meditation. So it's all, the matter of how do you concentrate, how do you stop yourself from deviating from the activities. And those activities are there when you move here and there. So, okay, so I think let us conclude the lecture, the last part of the lecture, right? Issues and challenges which are very important. I'll be concluding the lecture next 3 to 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes. So these are the challenges which are there in this area: poor signal to noise ratio and artifact, where the research is going on, and then implantation of electrode, that what is the correct position where the electrodes can be implanted in place, high dimensionality of data and large number of features, information transfer rate and selection of suitable channels, variation between different individuals, because as I told you, it's a subjective matter. Cognitive science research, the only biggest the challenge and difficulty is it's a subjective, and therefore there are variations which are reported from one individual to other individual. difficulty in obtaining precise and accurate result because brain is sensitive and complex. So I think these are the major challenges which are there. I believe that lot of research can be carried out in the assessment. These are the challenges in the study and the analysis of brain signal, or otherwise, whatever activities we have discussed, whatever the recalling capability, the different disorders with which the human brain could be suffering, might be suffering, all those could be analyzed, all those could be interpreted with the help of the brain signals. But while analyzing, while interpreting, while comprehending those information and classifying the thing, what type of disorder it is, what level of disorder it is, there are challenges. So these are the challenges, not the challenges in those applications, but these are the challenges, the technical or practical challenges which are there. But yes, there are research papers and the works contributions. There are signal processing methods which are used in order to overcome these challenges. So overall, I mean, the area is very interesting area, very emerging area, and one can think of doing some potential research in the human brain and in the assessment of some cognitive ability of human brain. So these are the references of the what I was discussing in the key contributions, the recent contributions in the area of cognitive science research. All are from the important sources, and this is all from my side. So when you see my thank you slide is like this only. Professor Sardana was talking about motivation. I always believe that until one is motivated, one can't perform a bigger or can't achieve a bigger objective. So therefore, motivation is very important. This is popularly known as Einstein's equation. But I believe that motivation is very important, but at the same time, commitment is equally important. So you can look at here, more is the commitment, more is the excellence. So I believe in these very important motivations, motivational equation. And I always conclude my lecture with this, this innovative equation. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very insightful and very informative session. So we have a couple of questions in the chat box window, so we can take up them, sir. So coming to the first question from Aryan. So he has asked, what was the name you took in between something related to Vyom-Yan? Kindly please reshare that.
Vyom-Yan, I think everyone knows about Vyom-Yan. Is an important project of ISRO, right? A few months ago, they talked about in the news, and it was a very important, it's a very important project, and they are launching that Vyom-Yan Lady robot, if you remember Lady robot, right? Which was discussed for 3 to 4 days in all news, and not at national level, but at international level also. NASA did the same thing. And the India is, I think, one of 4 or 5 countries where we are doing these tasks. So I was telling that's a brilliant example of computer vision and cognitive abilities. All those abilities are there in that Lady robot. It's an artificial device, artificial intelligent device, fully capable with machine learning capabilities, cognitive capabilities, vision capabilities, and all this. I think these are the terms which I mentioned in Vyom-Yan.
Okay, sir. So next question is, why is there a paste used before calculating signals in EEG?
Why is there
a paste used, sir, before measuring the EEG signals? A paste is used on the body. Yeah, sir.
Paste is used.
Yeah, a paste is used.
Yeah. It's always needed, right? I'm not a person of that chemical or other science, but when you want to connect your body, right? And suppose you take a ECG signal, why do you put a paste? That paste or liquid gives the connectivity interface between that part and your electrical wire which is connected, cable which is connected, so that it provides conducive environment, conducive interface. Then only your signal could be interface. Could be received. Therefore, paste is needed.
Okay, sir. So our next question is from Anuj Kumar. So he is looking for some guidance on research areas in human consciousness and the second is effect of meditation on human brain. So please could you comment on them?
I would suggest that write Google on this topic. You will get some articles. Google means you visit good literatures in IEEE and other literatures. You will find on the area like sleep disorder. Even there are research while doing meditation. How does the brain wave? How does the brain signal change? And I think you should start with studying the basic papers which are recently contributed. Then come out with certain conclusion that what you can do, because the person who is meditating, the person who is in those mental states, you can record the signal. But there are, if you want to begin with, there are standard databases. Just Google it, you will find hundreds of databases which are standard data sets. One can begin with those data sets starting, and all those mental activities are there in those data sets. That is meditation, mental disorder, normal, abnormal. So I would suggest that study these articles, these papers related to the topic, that is consciousness, subconsciousness, and then just come out with certain conclusion based on the extensive survey or study of those papers in that topic.
Thank you. So there is one more question. The person is saying that, sir, you mentioned that electrodes are used for image brain processing. So doesn't the radiations and rays and magnetic field affect our brain?
Of course, it will. It will. Especially with there was one modality, EMG. It is magneto. I mean, it is not electrical signal. It is related with magnetic. So that is adversely affected. But as far as EEG is also, as far as EEG is concerned, it will be also affected with the neighboring electrical and magnetic signal. But magnetic interference would mostly create difficulty with EMG, not with EEG. But still, if there are some different interferences nearby in the surrounding area or region, it would affect. That's what I was telling you, that these are the possibilities of noise and artifact in the signal. So therefore, a suitable arrangement, a specific room is allocated where certain acquisition conditions are there when the brain is subjected, or a human brain is subjected to record the EEG. So those precautions and things are taken care of while recording the EEG signal.
Okay, sir. So next question is from Deepak. He's asking, does brain remains active in dead person? If yes, how long?
See that people say that brain dead. Brain dead means what? When brain dead is you are no more. So I do not think that when the person dies, there would be any signals which will be generated from brain. So how do you get the electrical signal from the brain once the brain is died? But for other organs, there are studies. Other organs, there are some time limit. Up to that time, there are organs they survive, and therefore they operate, and they just with the help of surgery and then transplant to other bodies. But I don't think there are much research on the brain, or I can frankly admit that I still have to study in that area domain.
Okay, so next question is from Dr. Padmavati. So she's asking that in case of mental disorders, is there some ready data available?
Daily means what?
Ready data available for mental disorders.
Yeah, they are available. As I mentioned you, I would suggest her just Google. There are data sets available for the and during a specific period, from one time to one time frame to other time frame. During a specific time interval, you will get the data sets. They are available.
Okay. So one last question is from Vignesh. He's asking, sir, I think Sophia AI robot has feeling.
Yeah.
Not, sir. So we will be giving feeling to AI robot or not? Yet giving feeling, sir, why?
Sentiment is being worked upon. Yeah. Sentiment and emotion are there. As I told you, it's the application of cognitive science that comes under cognitive science. Earlier in the biometrics, everyone was talking about that how sentiment can be, incorporated or embedded in the biometric system. But with the Sophia, I have seen the YouTube video on the Sophia. It's the robot, same lady robot of other country, right? It has that capability. It means the sentiment and emotions. When we are talking about emotion and sentiment, so that could be, that could be assessed and intercepted with the help of AI.
So one more question is from Gaurav. So he's asking, sir, what are your views on research based on reliability assessment of complex brain networks of available models?
I would frankly say I don't have any idea, right? We have to study in that area. Better not to comment until we have some substantial thing about that.
So rest all our appreciation comments. Wonderful presentation, sir. Thanks. The slides were amazing. Very interesting information session. So many appreciation comments for your session, sir. So
Thank you so much.
anyone else who would like to directly interact with sir before we close up today's session? Any of the participants who would like to directly ask your question to sir or any discussion?
Is Dr. Sardana still there?
Yeah, Sardana sir, sir, I think he has some issue.
Yeah, fine, I'm here.
Oh, sir is there. Yeah, sir is there.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Hope I could justify in the topic to some extent. I don't know how much I could, but I tried my best to to present an overview so that the participants can get one idea in this area. I hope I could.
You had a wonderful session. I believe the topic is so vast that I felt that it is beyond limitations of human mind, both in terms of transmitting the material research and also absorbing the material research. And I could see the questions going out of bounds. And you really had to admit. In fact, if I were to list, I have a page of notes that I could make. I should not say that they would all be relevant questions, because that would mean taking a lot of your time and participants' time. But I can throw just the things that I could really enjoy, and they are neither questions now, because I don't raise them as questions, but they are still open issues. Most of which were raised by you, and some of them just came in my mind. Particularly, I was finding it very interesting to know, and somebody also raised that there are possibilities of disease that are available, and in fact I had felt probably there could be a way out to know whether such detections are possible, and even whether there could be any therapies to use machines, to use this interface wherein humans could be benefited. And there were very interesting things when you mentioned how children or rather adults equate with children when they are in meditation. And
there are research, sir. There are research articles.
Yes, that was very interesting. And you mentioned a lot of robustness. That was an eye opener for us to know that whatever we do, whether it is image processing or it is machine intelligence, the robustness was one challenge that I could gather from your presentation. We all are just doing without any kind of maturity in them or any robustness in them, which humans can individually claim. So our algorithms are individually claimed, but they don't sustain for long. They are just claimed for a particular set of databases. And then you mentioned a lot on about optimization of placement of sensors, optimization of feature selection, and also taking care of artifacts. So these were probably engineering challenges that people would enjoy, and then enjoy, or rather enjoy it as challenges, not enjoy them as success, but enjoy them as not yet achieved kind of things. And then you clearly stated that cognition is a subjective matter. That shows that all that what we do will remain more like individual opinion in terms of performance, and may remain limited in terms of performance if it comes to any system engineering levels. And there were interesting aspects on those waves that you mentioned. People are generally keen on knowing those in India. People are quite spiritual, and then they want to see meditation and other, how science connects to them in terms of alpha, delta, and other waves, beta waves. And I enjoyed that effortless alertness that you mentioned. I particularly learned it through meditation. that it is effortless alertness. So it's so wide that machines cannot even assume. And our learning from BCI that you mentioned has already shown this information is quite mature, I believe. That these waves are well understood to some extent, well understood in the sense they have given some guidelines on bandwidths that they operate in. And very interesting when you shared that the levels are very low. And I'm told that somewhere I read that it is no more than a few watt of bulb that human brain consumes power-wise. Though it consumes a lot of oxygen and you know, enormous resources of human body, but it's still compared to an engineering marvel, it is too little. So it's operating at the lowest possible engineering, you know, computer that would anywhere be made. And finally, the most interesting that when you agreed that you really made the expectations met by MC equal to MC square, a new definition. I believe all of us must contain that, particularly during these days and in general also, how commitment plays the squared rule, and motivation is a linear, you know, outcome, but commitment is a squared outcome. Wonderful, and you proved that excellence through MC square yourself, and I believe that equal to MC square after Einstein would go a long way from you. And they did have a little artifact somewhere, despite having good bandwidth from your side. I don't know what happened, but that's an interesting artifact. But you came back, and people remain committed. So wonderful that we must end it probably because there are a lot of questions, and we are already close to time. Thank you for being with us with full energy, and I hope everyone enjoyed. And some of them were raising questions on presentation, and I believe they know that this is available on YouTube, so they can also revisit a number of times till they understand everything. So,
All right.
thank you very much, and it's
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I'm really humbled to hear all these comments from all of you and the appreciation from all of you. Thank you so much to you. Thanks, Anupama, and thanks everyone for connecting me and giving me the opportunity. Thanks to all participants who have attended this lecture patiently. Thank you so much.
Yes. So, sir, shall we have a group photograph?